let me say thank you to our community at large. Our community today has been has tremendously showed us so much gratitude and so much love and concern for us, for our department, for our firefighters. It's been really a beautiful sight to see. Unfortunately, the circumstances are very grim, but the support of Macon-Bibb County and its surrounding areas has been just absolutely outstanding. And I just want to up front say thank you so much to our community and to the fire service of the United States and the law enforcement community has just been immense. It truly has. I'm running out of space as far as taking texts and calls and stuff, but keep them coming. I'm grateful. They're really helpful to us as we go forward. I have some what I think is some very good news for us as the officers, two of the officers that was admitted to the burn center have been released and sent home, and they are doing well. In fact, one has been released to return to regular duty, which is very good for us to hear and for us to know. And we only have one left. Battalion Chief Steve Stafford is still in the Augusta Burn Center, but his condition has been upgraded and he is conscious and alert at this point in time. So his sedated condition in which they had him in has been changed. They have brought his conscious level up to where he is conscious and communicating with his family and friends as we speak. The other firefighters we will have one. Of course, they're still in the healing process. It's going to take them a minute to firefighter Kui Michi has his injuries. They're going to have to heal a bit before he's able to go back to regular duty. So he's going to be in a modified duty status for a little while. And so, but he is out of the hospital and on the mend, if you will. We've had so much support for the community, and the community has thought it not robbery to have two funds that's available to the community if the community wishes to donate two separate funding sources. The one is the Macon's Firemen's Credit Union on Oglethorpe Street, and I will provide the specifics of the addresses, communication links to these facilities, and the State Bank of Middle Georgia has availed itself as well, and I will provide for you the specifics as the contact person and their contact information for them. So we're truly grateful to them for doing that for us. We have spent the morning with the family in making arrangements for Lieutenant Parker. His funeral will be on Monday morning at 11 a.m. at the City Auditorium here in Macon, and his interment will be at Glen Haven Memorial. Visitation has been set to be held at the Government Center on Poplar Street, and that will be held on Sunday from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. at Government Center. So, and the family will be there. They've expressed a desire to be there that time frame, and all is open. So guests and friends and visitors and well-wishers are more than welcome to come by and commute and with the family and the firefighters that will be there on Sunday at Government Center. So this will occur and has been set on for Sunday at 11 a.m. at the Government Center. And thanks to Mayor and Commission for allowing us to use that facility for Lieutenant Parker and the fire family. We're grateful for that. We've had a wonderful support infrastructure in the fire service. We're very grateful that we're part of the fire service in the state of Georgia, but the fire service in the state of Georgia is part of even a bigger network. fire service and law and public safety infrastructure. And I'm very grateful that Georgia's executive officer to the the Fallen Fighters Foundation is with us and has been with us all morning long to assist in making the arrangements as it relates to the connection to the Georgia's fire service as to what its input can be and should be as we go forward with this. So Dennis Thayer has been with us, and it has been very instrumental in helping us to walk through these procedures as we go through. So having said that, if you have questions, Phil.
I understand that the autopsy is complete. Do we have the results?
So I have not received them definitive. I know it was done. I know it is complete. I have not gotten a result back from it just yet. I should have that this afternoon. I will have that this afternoon, but I do not have that at this moment.
Is there any update on the investigation?
The investigation is still ongoing. I have the investigators. I didn't have a chance to sit with them this morning. I think they are about ready to sit with me though. But they're still in town and they're still formulating their thoughts. So, but I believe they're very close to coming up with their thoughts as to what has taken place on Fairview Avenue.
And can you explain a little bit why ATF is involved?
Excellent question. Thank you. I invited the ATF because of the fact that I know that this investigation involved one of our own, and these investigations are tough to start with when anyone loses their life. But when you're dealing with being investigated and you're investigating a fire that involves your own, it's even more tough for our own investigators. So I wanted to make sure that Investigator Gleaton had he could rely, and he knew that he had access to other investigators, that if he felt as if he did not feel comfortable doing something or wanted to do something different or look at it from a different purview or felt as if he may be biased in any way, he had other professional help that could come in. We also had the ATF as well as the Georgia Fire Marshals investigators here to assist him in his investigation, and that was certainly not because he couldn't have done it himself. He's certainly capable. I just wanted to make sure that was available to him.
Can you explain a little bit more about the circumstances of them entering the structure? I know they've been battling the blaze for about an hour, and then they entered it. I guess some people have asked, why go into the house? I mean, was it still ablaze at that point? Had the fire been under control? And what was the purpose for going in?
At the time in which they actually had it had been given in our terms a knockdown on the fire, and to what the visible flames and fire that they was obviously able to see from the carport area into the upper level. They did feel as if they had a knockdown on that fire, and after further investigation of that, and of course, once we get it to that it's under control, you go a bit further in and you go examining further areas. This is when Captain Cromer was actually investigating the underside into the basement area, and noted that there was an intense amount of heat that was coming out of the basement structure. And this is when he advised Chief Stafford that there was obvious fire still in the basement area. So this is when they charged back inside. This is when these instructions was given. Firefighters were put back into an active suppression mode, if you will, and this is when this event occurred.
Chief, I know you said still ongoing investigation, but as far as the start of the fire, we spoke to Mr. Coffey yesterday, who said he believes it started outside.
Preliminaries, information that I've gotten from the investigators tend to concur. This is a high probability as to where that could have started. They feel it could have easily have started in the carport area, where there was a burned barrel there, and there had been burning in that barrel very close time-wise to the time of the fire. So that's probably going to play heavily and play true to the overall cause and the origin of the fire itself. But, you know, like I said, I haven't gotten a definitive and conclusive report from the investigative team just yet.
Were they using the barrel to burn something, or was there something?
It was just ordinary combustibles that he was just burning debris that the homeowner at that time has said that he was doing.
Chief, how's your department doing right now? How are the firefighters?
You know, that's a very excellent question. We have had counselors and CISD people, critical incident stress debriefers, with our folk, and I've just gotten some really time is helping. This is certainly not an easy thing that we're having to endure, and the firefighters themselves, because they, you know, it's being replayed over and over and over in their minds as to that fire itself and the end results of it. But it has been very helpful for them to, and I'm very grateful for the counselors and the CISD people to sit and listen to them and allow them to communicate and dialogue with one another as to talk about Lieutenant Parker. Lieutenant Parker was one of those people who, if you knew him, you like, he had a good spirit about him, and he would turn usually some lemon situation into lemonade. So I'm sure there's many wonderful memories left that can be talked about and thought of when you think in terms of Lieutenant Parker. So as grim as it is, Lieutenant Parker, if you really knew him, and for those people who worked with him, had that opportunity to know that he would not would want to look down on situations. He'd always want to find the silver lining in the cloud, and so that's this morning I was just talking to Chaplain Wall that at the setting that he was sitting in this morning with the firefighters, this is what it had turned to, that there are lots of smiles and lots of remembrances of very pleasant situations, and situations in which wasn't, even if they weren't pleasant, they turned out to be a bit humorous, and those were stemmed and created from Lieutenant Parker. So we're healing. It's a slow process, we know that, and so I'm grateful for all the prayers, the many calls, and for the professional support that we have been given to help us through this battling moment.
Going back to what you said before about burning outside, do you know if the homeowner had a permit to burn? Do you need one?
It is a part. We're still inside of the time frame in which outside burning is allowed in Bibb County, and I don't know. I'm sure that's going to be a part of the reporting process that the investigators are going to let me know whether or not there was an actual called-in report given to this address or not for that day. I do not know that, Phil, to answer your question definitively, whether or not a permit was issued to that location for that day.
But he didn't necessarily need one. For if it were in that time.
It was, you know, when we look at barrel burning and just outside burning, you do need a permit to burn just outside debris, but in sometimes barrel burning, warming fires and this type of thing, we typically don't have to have issue a burn permit for that. So we'll have to see how that qualified and what measures was taken as it went down that process.
If it was found that he was burning without a permit, or, is that possible that there might be criminal charges?
We will look at all avenues of it. I'm not saying that, Phil, as a definitive thought process, because certainly there's enormous amount of remorse that has been shown and given to us by the homeowner themselves. But so we'll have to look at that as it came to us and when we view that.
Do you know if the family has reached out to the fire department? Because I saw them on TV. And obviously they're very remorseful.
They have. You mean the family from the fire itself? They have. They were there and did not want to leave us the night of the fire. They certainly did not want to leave, and they was grieving directly to me. If he did it once, he did it 10 times to me personally that night of the fire itself. So certainly they have been grieving. And had even called in people to that night because their church members came to engage in prayers and vigils for us that night. So, okay, all right. again, I want to say thanks again to our community, y'all. Thanks again for your prayers and support as we continue to go through this process. I will give you a copy of the funeral arrangements, but thank you all so much for your continued support of us as we go through this process. And thanks again, Dennis, for being with us, and commissioners, thank y'all so much for being with us as we go through this process. I'm truly grateful for all who have given and shared and will continue to help us to heal in the coming days, weeks, and months.